Hey, hello, welcome to the Market Down podcast. My name is Toby McGuire, and I am joined by Andrew Garfield, and we are here to talk about wrestling, more or less. Please subscribe. I know it's early to ask for that, and you don't even know what we're talking about yet, and I'm asking for that, and that's pretty selfish of me, but it's that time of year where you ask for things, and won't you be my Santa Claus and give me this gift and subscribe? Because we are on our way to my co-podcaster rapping. So please help us get there. But anyway, it's been a crazy year of wrestling in 2021. We started with no fans and, like a Thunderdome and all this crazy stuff. And now we're here. Fans are back. They are bored sometimes on a certain day of the week in particular. But still, they're back, and that's fantastic. Maybe they won't be back in a few months. Who knows, But we'll talk about 2022 predictions a little later. Just a couple of little things we got to take care of first. On Wednesday, December whatever the fuck, 29th probably, Toni Storm was allegedly released from WWE, and I'm not gonna lie, that's a bummer. Storm Zero is one of my favorite finishers. I know she hasn't been using that on the main roster, but Toni Storm is pretty cool. Not too happy about that. We, as of recording, we don't know why or what the details are surrounding this, but I've seen Becky Lynch, Dakota Kai, Rhea Ripley, and many others post pictures of Toni Storm, pretty much confirming the reports that I believe were first reported by Sean Ross Sapp, the one of two people who report most things. So, James, how do you feel about this? Are you a Toni Storm fan? Like, how did you feel finding this out?
I'm not as big a Toni Storm fan as most people are, but I see the it factor in her. I see how good she is. I see what she brings to the table, and I think this was a misfire on WWE's part. Like you said, we don't really know the details. We don't know if Toni requested this or if this was WWE's decision. But regardless, the fact that their women's roster is already so depleted, I think, and they are struggling to make new women stars. This just feels so unnecessary. This feels like such a loss for WWE. And I can't say it's going to be a loss for Toni, because I think wherever she lands, whatever roster she does join, is going to thrive because of it. I think they're really going to see a boost. And I know, like, obviously everybody's first instinct is AEW, and that would be fantastic. I think AEW could use her. I think AEW could obviously use more women to really pad that roster, which we've already said has been padded a lot this year, and is looking a lot better at the end of 2021 than it did at the beginning. So that's good. But I think she could do well in Impact. I think she could do well in a few different places. So, all the best to Toni. I hope that whatever comes next is better than what came before. It can't be that hard because WWE did not do anything great with her. So
Are
nothing
you
but the best.
saying that her getting pied in the face twice in a row by Charlotte as a build-up to be number one contender wasn't good? Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that at least she got her title match, because at least Shotzi Blackheart, no, not at least, but because Shotzi Blackheart and the now released Tegan Knox got nothing.
That's true. That is very, very true.
That's our bar. Our bar is really low for these women, unfortunately. It's not their fault. They are amazing. But WWE treating these women, that bar is very, very low.
Yeah. And, Toni, yeah, I think Heel Book put out a meme that was like, normally we used to say sorry for being released, but now it's more like a congratulatory thing because, there's a lot more for you out there nowadays. So she'll be fine. She could show up in Impact and make a huge splash. She could show up in AEW and make a huge splash, a way bigger splash than Mercedes Martinez. And that's all we're going to say about that. But yes, we'll find out soon enough. Toni Storm, best of luck. Yeah, least you got a little bit of a run on the main roster. So on to more more serious, as much as someone losing their job is serious, a way more serious story. So last week we talked about it. WWE had a little mini COVID outbreak. You know that thing? It's going around. It's all over the place. YouTube doesn't like when you say it. It's pretty messed up. It's like a weird way to treat something that affects everyone. But they had a little COVID outbreak. We didn't know any names, but now Seth Rollins seems to be the only one who's confirmed that he's tested positive for COVID. He put out a tweet and said, "Merry COVID Christmas" to me, or something along those lines. And since then, him, Becky, Biggie, Roman, I believe, I want to say Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan as well, have been pulled from WWE, the live show in MSG, which I actually consider going to, and I'm really glad I did it now. But and they weren't on Raw either. They all had video packages or cut little promos taped on their phone at home, and that's fine. And they'll all reportedly, they've got taken off TV as a precaution so that they can be there for day one, and supposedly they will all be there. Even Seth Rollins, the guy who seemed to have tested positive, and that's pretty weird, but also it makes perfect sense because we're in a time where the CDC has become a meme. It's a meme source now, and they've they bend their rules to cave into what like businesses and governments want. So it makes sense that as soon as they're like, hey, you only need like 5 days and then you can go back to work, that's what WWE is doing to the T. So obviously, Seth, hope you're okay. And if anyone else in the company has it, hope you're all okay. But for the company itself, come on. Like, I feel like you guys, before I say anything bad about the company, I also should add that they reportedly and supposedly stopped requiring COVID tests like this week, like at the week that this happened. So it's kind of like hey, this thing can't go wrong if we don't check to see if it's going wrong. And that's the mentality they're going with. That is a winner's mentality if I ever heard one. James, you're a guy with opinions. What do you got?
I think like a lot of us at the end of 2021, after 2 years of this, I'm tired. I'm hurting. I'm sad that this is our reality after so long. But at the same time, just because I don't want this to be the case doesn't mean I'm going to pretend that it's not. And I'm one guy. And there should be a lot of people out there that are smarter than me. And you would like to think that they're getting paid to be smarter than me, but apparently none of those people are getting paid at WWE. I did have tickets to the MSG show. I had 2 tickets to go to the MSG show. And I said to myself, you know what? And this is before anybody got pulled. I was like, you know what? I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's not worth it. And you know what? I wasn't alone. That arena was half full. I'm sorry, less than half full. And beyond what that show became, because I think they actually got a pretty interesting matchup, which was Edge returning to the Garden in a cage match for the first time against Kevin Owens. That's pretty cool. It's not worth dying for. And it's not worth getting sick for. Sorry, Edge. Sorry, Kevin. Sorry, Steel Cage. But not worth it to me. And I think it's ridiculous that WWE has made this rule change. I've heard that a lot of the stars in the back are not happy about this rule change. And, I pray for those men and women backstage that this isn't going to be something that they learn the hard way, because you never want anybody to get sick. You never want anybody to be in such a terrible position. But I think we're going to see a lot of shows be altered this way moving forward, the way the MSG show was altered. I have a feeling that, unfortunately, there is a strong possibility for at least a limited time. WWE is probably going to be going back to the Thunderdome. maybe. And maybe AEW goes back to Daly's place.
Maybe. I wouldn't mind WWE going back to the Thunderdome because these crowds have been so dead lately. Not that I blame them,
Yep.
but I might as well. I'd rather hear completely piped in cheers and boos than piped in cheers and boos over a silent crowd.
Exactly.
So I'd rather that than that. But also, on the note of that Kevin Owens Edge match, isn't that just a beautiful way of looking at WWE's mindset, where it's like, our backs against the wall, let's give these people something they actually would want, instead of Edge wasting 1 to 3 of his remaining matches on the fucking Miz.
Yep.
I know this is a way more important topic, but like come on, this show's right there. I bet those people were so excited for that.
Yep.
You know what? I don't blame you for not going, but I will say this, New York, please. I have 2 concerts next month that I am dying to see. One of which is a reschedule of a concert that got canceled in April 2020. So
Jesus,
please, New York, don't let me down on this. I feel like you are, but I'm asking nice anyway. I don't want to keep making a lot of jokes about this situation, so I will try to reel myself in.
I can make one.
Sure. Oh
I can make one.
Yes.
COVID must hate Newark, right? Because they were supposed to get the first blood and guts match for AEW. And then that, obviously, priorities, that show kept getting pushed back. And finally, when Newark did get AEW Dynamite, it was the show before Grand Slam. And they got nothing, really. They got an appearance by Minoru Suzuki, but they didn't get that big marquee match that they were promised way back the year prior. And this week, coming up in Newark, am I hella tempted to go see Bryan Danielson versus Hangman 2? Hell yeah. Am I? No. But I wouldn't be surprised if that arena isn't really all that full. And that's going to suck. That's really going to suck. Not so much a joke, but a awful realization that Newark has got to have pissed off somebody at the CDC. Well, maybe not the CDC, but the WHO, maybe.
New Jersey doesn't care about COVID. Come on. I don't want to start beef with every fucking city in America, but I have friends in Jersey and they're cool.
Everybody has one. Everybody has at least one.
Oh man, yeah. So that's it for the news. We're not covering anything else. That the news is done. We're done with that. We're fuck the news. Who cares about the news? Come on, it's rotting in your brain. Who needs the news? Let's talk about the year as a whole, okay? Because there's been a lot this year. So much wrestling, some good, some bad. A lot of it just okay, honestly. But we're gonna talk just some of our favorite stuff from the year, some of the worst stuff from the year, and some stuff that we think might happen in the future. So I want to start with WWE. James,
risky.
Yeah, I know. Do you have any favorite matches from WWE this year, or are they all one collective blur of rest holds and DQ finishes and roll-ups?
Don't forget the countouts. Please don't forget the countouts. I had to think about it. I had to think about it. We talked about it before we started recording, that I was having a little bit more trouble coming up with my WWE matches of the year. But I did some thinking, and you know what? There actually were some diamonds, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy that WWE can provide good content. One of those matches was undoubtedly the main event of WrestleMania between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. One, it's always amazing to see women getting the spotlight. The main event of WrestleMania, you can't go any higher in WWE. And I'm very happy that not only did they get that match, they put on a hell of a great match. Like I really, really love that match. And I think despite how certain things ended with Bianca, you know, I think that match really cemented her as a big deal. It felt that way, at least at the time. It felt like a big deal. And I love that match. On top of that, I loved Daniel Bryan's swan song with Roman Reigns, his last match in WWE on SmackDown. And man, like, I know that's still not quite where his heights were this year, and we'll get to that in a bit, but it was cool to see him pull out one last rabbit out of that hat in WWE. And I love that match, and it made Roman look good too. And finally, I really, really, really enjoyed oh god, what is the match that I'm thinking? I'm so sorry. I enjoyed Edge versus Seth Rollins. Well, one of them. I enjoyed one of their matches. And it was the one where Edge makes Seth tap with the chair in his mouth.
Was that the Hell in a Cell match?
Oh my god, yeah, wow. That should have been the clear indicator match, or indicator of what that match should have been, but identifier. But I'm tired and the year is almost over. I've run out of energy, but for as long as that feud went, there were some highlights, and I really did enjoy that match.
So that was actually WWE's best match of the year on their list that they made. I agree with the Bianca and Sasha. I kind of sound like a dick by saying this, but like, I do kind of put main events in air quotes a lot of the times when I say it, because, and it's not because I don't think it's main event worthy, because I do, and I think that match was fantastic. And I agree with everything you said about Bianca. I don't think the way she lost the title diminishes everything that led up to that and how big of a star they see her as, because I've kind of just realized WWE sucks at ending title reigns in the first place. So like, I guess I'm just kind of come used to it. But the reason I don't like calling it the main event is because it's just like, does it feel like they would have done it if it wasn't two nights? And no, they wouldn't have done it. And like, even the build itself, the build is terrible. Reggie was involved in the build of that match.
I honestly forgot. I
honestly did too. I looked it up recently, but so I do agree with a lot of that. And Bryan and Reigns was on my list as well, but I put a couple just in case we had overlapping ones. So which you already had two of my three. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see the Hell in a Cell match. I didn't watch the Saudi Arabia
Fair
show,
enough.
So.
Fair enough.
For me, taking out Bryan and Reigns, which probably is number 1 or 2 on my list. I have Becky and Charlotte from Survivor Series. I know, shocker, I put a Becky Lynch match on my list, but it was just a really good match. Not a match I wanted, but a match that exceeded all of my expectations. And and it is partially because of how much I like Becky Lynch, but I can, I'm more invested in finishes when I actually care about the person wrestling. And because she's facing Charlotte, someone who I can't really stand, and someone who wins a lot of matches she shouldn't win, I bought in to the idea that Charlotte could win this. So I actually had some like suspense and tension throughout the match, which a lot of WWE matches are missing. So I definitely didn't expect to be so invested in that match, but it turned out to be. And then they kind of went for a semi-shoot style match, and the intensity was was really good during that match, and you can buy into the hatred, and you can buy into the intentional sloppiness of the match, and it was really nice. It was a good match that I didn't want, and I didn't want to care about, and they still got me in. And I think that's the mark of a really good match. So I was going to talk about Bryan Reigns, but James already did that. So I put Sheamus versus Riddle. I know fucking Sheamus on a best match list. What is that? I know Sheamus is somehow underrated, even though he's one of those people got sick of and felt like he was shoved down their throat. But Sheamus has had like a banner year and a half of just rejuvenating himself and having good matches. I think spending so much time with Cesaro in the bar and the tag division really helped Sheamus plug in whatever gaps in his game that he was missing. So I think his match against Riddle at WrestleMania, while not the best match on WrestleMania, was really exciting. It was a great match for Riddle. And you know what? You can also say it was any other matches. I was trying to remember which one I liked the most, and I couldn't remember because it was on random episodes of Raw or SmackDown. I don't remember. So I was like, I'll just say WrestleMania because it's the only one I remember when exactly it happened. But they had really good chemistry, and that was part of Riddle's coming out party where Riddle has really been treated like a big deal, at least the way WWE books people. He's been treated like a big deal, and then him having the match with Sheamus, taking the loss, putting Sheamus over, and not having sour grapes about it was one of the things that has propelled Riddle to where he is currently. So that's the second match I'm going to go with. But the third match I'm going to go with is, I think, my favorite match from WWE of the year by a decent margin. Just, maybe not decent, just edging out Reigns and Bryan, is Seth Rollins and Cesaro from WrestleMania. Oh my God, what a match. Like, I knew it would be good. It was Seth Rollins and Cesaro, but I wasn't sure how good WWE would let it be. I was worried they would cut it short or, maybe even, do something stupid, have a screwy finish, just make it more about outside stuff and not just pure wrestling. But they did let them just go out there and wrestle, and they put on a great match. It was Cesaro's, I believe, his first singles match at WrestleMania, at least on the main show, and he put on a clinic and he got everyone behind him, and they just had such a good match. And I have some friends who don't really watch WWE anymore, and they watch AEW, and that was the one match I was like, yo, you got to see this match from WrestleMania. I was like, you got to see Samoa Joe and Pancho, and you have to see this match because I think it was by far the best thing on WrestleMania. I think it really it was a nice moment for Cesaro, and and then he went on to become number one contender for the next match. He had another great match at the pay-per-view with Reigns, but granted, now it's like you probably should have left, buddy, but at least he'll always have that moment, that singles match with Cesaro or with Seth Rollins, and so Cesaro always have that WrestleMania moment. So that's definitely my favorite match from WWE this year by a good margin. What do you think, James? Any of those matches, Seth, Cesaro, Becky, Charlotte from Survivor Series, or Riddle versus Sheamus? Really, any iteration of Riddle versus Sheamus?
Okay. Yeah. I love all those matches, man. I wouldn't have thought of Riddle and Sheamus, and I like you talking about it made me realize what a good year Riddle had. And that match, he lost to Sheamus, right? He lost to Sheamus, and it didn't matter. He came out on top. Like, I mean, Sheamus is still in a good position. Like, he's always going to be in a good position, but Riddle is just he's firing on all cylinders, man. And I think that performing at such a level in front of such an audience made it clear that RK Bro is going to be a good idea, or like to take the chance on RK Bro. And I got to give you credit again for the Charlotte Becky match, because I know a lot of people hated that finish, but I loved it. I love that finish of her out. Now that I've spent time thinking about it after the fact, she out cheated Charlotte. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, and it's a finish she's used a lot. It's basically part of her character now to grab the ropes during the
Yeah.
roll up. So, it's that match was just another step in building to whoever kicks out of that. So, and like I said, it's one of the few times where I didn't know who's gonna win, and I can actually feel like tension in a WWE match, which so many of their matches are void of.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to agree so much about Cesaro and Rollins. I really do, because the match itself was fantastic, but my God, it just makes me sad to think about where Cesaro is. Like, I couldn't tell you what he's doing right now.
He is repeatedly losing to Sheamus and what's that dude?
Ridge Holland.
Yeah.
Ridge Holland. Oh God. Yeah, we could have the bar back, but nah. We'll just have him.
Yeah, we'll have a different bar, I guess. And that's one. To quickly go back to the Becky Charlotte, and I keep saying it, but I didn't know who's gonna win. Whereas the Sasha Bianca match, there was no doubt in my mind at any point that Bianca was gonna win. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's the right call, and sometimes it's just better to do the right thing. But once again, those rare times where you really just don't know, those are awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, poor Cesaro, man. They really dangled. That's a lesson though to everyone else. When they're dangling the carrot in front of you when your contract's almost up, look at Cesaro, or maybe look where Kevin Owens is a year from now and see if you really.
I was thinking it as you were saying it. I was thinking it, and I didn't want to say it, but my God, please, I don't want that to be a thing.
Yeah, or if Sami Zayn resigns, he already lost his awesome music, so I don't care about him anymore because he lost the best music. It's depressing. But anyway, on to something that on average is not depressing. AEW.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is going to be impossible. But I'm gonna try to name some of my favorite matches from AEW, and I'm gonna prevent myself from having all three of them be Bryan Danielson matches because it's not even close for me. But I'm gonna say Brian Omega Grand Slam. We were there. It was so good. I just being in that environment, it has an unfair advantage over everything else because I was there, and you were there, and Rev was there, and everyone more or less was there, and it was just so awesome. Just the environment. I was at WrestleMania at 35, and I did not feel anything comparable to that. But that's also because outdoor arenas suck for wrestling shows.
That they do.
Put wrestling indoors. I want to hear those echoes of the crowd. Anyway, that's not important. But it was an amazing match. It was so good. And I'm I get why people in the building, you're gonna boo a non-finish. That's just a reflex. But I loved it because I didn't want either guy to lose. Well, that's not true. I wanted Brian to win. I just didn't want him to lose. So him not losing was just good enough for me.
Yep, absolutely.
So I thought it was fantastic, and I think it was a brilliant use of the draw. And this one is probably going to be on a lot of people. It might be on some people's top 10 or 15 or 20, but I loved Brian versus Eddie Kingston. I think it was so good. I thought it was one of the most unique matches in Brian's short but amazing run so far in AEW. Him and Eddie had a weird chemistry I didn't expect, and I feel like that was actually turns out to be the original seed planted for Brian to turn heel, because he was kind of a dick to Eddie in the build up to that match, and it was only a 1 week build. So I really liked that match. It was just hard hitting. It wasn't even long, comparable to the Eddie Punk match, which I also might I was thinking about putting on because Eddie Kingston has just been having some different but amazing matches. Maybe they're not technical masterpieces, but they are incredibly fun to watch. So that what I'm going with. And I there's so many choices, but I guess I'll go with the cage match, Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks, because I really didn't know like who was gonna win. I convinced myself ahead of time that I was like, the Lucha Bros are gonna win. I don't know why. I was like, I don't know. Then they got the big entrance, and I'm like, oh, the WWE brain in me is like, oh, they got the performance entrance, they're gonna lose. And I was like, but this is AEW, so they're gonna win. And then the sneaker spot happened. There was so many times where, again, like I said with the Becky Charlotte, I didn't know it was gonna win. And there was times where I thought the match was over. Like I genuinely thought, like, false finishes are fantastic. They are maybe a tad overdone to the point where not all of them are believable. But in this match, they had at least 3 false finishes that were believable, where I genuinely thought the match was over. And yeah, I'm not even like the biggest Lucha Bros fan. I'm like, these guys are awesome, but I'm not like they're my favorite. I don't like want them to be tag champions. But once they won, I was like, this is amazing. And man, that match was on a card where no one was paying attention to this match. They were just like, we're gonna destroy each other. And it's debatable, but you could say they outdid themselves from the ladder match they had a couple years ago. It's debatable. But I don't know, James, before you get into your list, you got any opinions on these matches?
Yeah, right now my opinion is that I'm really mad because your list is very, very similar to my list. So now I have to think about other matches that I really loved because I don't want to just copy
That's
you.
why I went first.
Yeah, no, that was well played, sir. I completely agree about Grand Slam. That was something that as a wrestling fan, I'm going to hold on to for as long as I'm a wrestling fan, which will probably be the rest of my life. I adored being there for that match. Rewatching it on TV, I adored watching that match on TV. It is arguably, I don't know who would argue it, but it is arguably 2 of the best wrestlers on the planet today putting on a clinic for a half hour. It was great. You, sir, made the right choice putting that on your list. Lucha Bros versus the Bucks in the cage was also on my list. So damn. But you actually perfectly stated how I felt, which thank you, making this easier for me. I love the Lucha Bros. I think they're really cool, but they're not my tag team. Like there are many other teams that I would love to see as tag champs. And, it's AEW's tag division is stacked. And, I'm attached to a couple other bandwagons, but that match, how they delivered, the emotion, the storytelling, everything involved with that match made me scream when they won. I was so happy to see the Lucha Bros win because it felt like they deserved it. And again, I love tag team wrestling. It's some of my favorite wrestling to watch. And those 4 men put on a hell of a show. So yeah. So again, thank you for taking that away from me. And
No problem.
your third match was Brian and Eddie. And man, how like we've mentioned it a few times on the pod, and I know it's been a popular topic, how incredible it is that AEW has these guys who are relatively unknown in the grand scheme of mainstream professional wrestling. And they're able to make us care about them in a way that we're not necessarily turning on these guys that we've always loved, like Bryan Danielson or CM Punk, but they make us care about them enough that it's like, you know what? I'd be happy if they won. I don't think anybody would have been mad if Eddie Kingston won that match against Bryan Danielson. Maybe it's not what they envisioned. Maybe it's like, oh man, Bryan lost, but no one's going to be like, Eddie Kingston doesn't deserve that. And that speaks so much to Eddie's appeal that they've built over the last year. And it speaks to how he delivered in that match. That middle finger at the end was incredible. And it's totally Eddie. It's not like anybody could have been placed into that spot and it would have just felt natural. No, that was Eddie Kingston being Eddie Kingston against Bryan Danielson, and it was fantastic. So great pick you had there, man. Great pick there.
Thank you. So that being said, I've taken two of yours. What do you got for me?
Tears and frustration. You are a better man than me for trying to keep Bryan off your list as much as you wanted to, but
I still put him on twice.
So did I initially, but now I have to change things. But I will start off by saying Bryan and Hangman, Bryan Danielson versus Hangman, going for an hour draw. I didn't think there was a match I would love more than Bryan and Omega. And maybe if Bryan and Omega get that extra half hour next time they go, I will love that match even more. But my God, heel dickhead Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon that we all remembered from years ago before he became Daniel Bryan, he's evolved into his final form, and we saw it in that match. His cardio was insane. I think the guy was like 50 minutes into a match and he's skinning the cat. Like, what the hell is that? It looked like he could have gone for another hour and I would have believed it. Same way you felt about Bryan and Omega with that ending. It's like we've all been following this Cinderella story with Hangman. We don't want him to lose the title, but it's Bryan Danielson. It's Bryan Danielson. I want him to be champion too. And oh God, that match delivered in every way. And man, I am looking forward to the sequel. Like, we're getting a sequel less than a month after, and we want it. At least I do. Like, I want to see that match. And how often can we say that in the other company? Oh, we're getting this match again. That tends to be the reaction. I want more out of this match. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that one. I'm going to bring out another match that I haven't seen on a lot of end of year lists, but I think what it represents makes it as important as it is. And for me, that is MJF versus Darby Allin. Is it the best match AEW has offered? No, I think every match on your list is better than this match. I think the match I already mentioned is better, but it was two of their young guns. It was two of their, I don't want to call them homegrown, but it's two of their guys that they've spent so much time cultivating, and they delivered in such a big way. And it feels like it's going to be a feud that continues for years, which is what you want to see. You know, you want to be invested in these feuds, and I certainly am. And I went into that match with high expectations, and I think they more than delivered. I think they more than delivered. And I think the right guy won, at least this time around. You know, I think this time around, the right guy won. And it's really hard now for me to pick a third match. I need you to know I am struggling, and not because there is a lack of good matches, but simply just because of how many good matches there were. And again, I'm gonna be a total shill for my guy, and I'm gonna go with a match that I know a lot of people didn't like, but I friggin' loved it. I loved Bryan Danielson versus Miro in the finals of the tournament. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't, you know, I don't think it was Bryan's best match ever. I don't think it was Miro's best match ever, but it was hard hitting. It felt like when I vividly remember Bryan just kicking the crap out of Miro, and you can see Miro's taking those hits. And then Miro just kicks Bryan in the ribs, and Bryan goes flying out of the ring, and it looks like Bryan is struggling to breathe. It looks like he got the wind knocked out of him, and he's trying to get his bearings back. And, you know, Bryan is an amazing seller that could have just been selling, or it could have been that these guys were really laying into each other because they've known each other for years in WWE, and they know what they can handle. But either way, that was a strong, hard-hitting, strong style match. And I love seeing that on American TV when I can. So definitely not a match you're going to see too often, I think, on a lot of lists, but I really loved it. And I will give, this is cheating, I'm sorry, I'm going to give an honorary mention match. I adored for how fun it was. The Elite versus Dark Order.
Mm.
With Hangman's title match on the line and the Dark Order's tag team title match on the line. It told such an amazing story. Now I really want to add I'm cheating. I have so many matches I want to talk about from AEW. I want to add Hangman versus Omega, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to mention it because I'm cheating. But I will stick with the tag match and how fun it was and how strong it made Hangman with all of the Elite having to team up to cheat to beat him. I thought that was fantastic. And it was just a fun match. I love multi-man matches like that when they're done well. And I thought that was done well. So yeah, that is me gushing over AEW, guys. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, I considered that tag match, especially because the entrances just made it feel like such a big deal. And that's one of the things AEW does so well, is taking matches that, on paper, it's a 10-man tag. Like, they make it into, this really special occasion. So I get that. And, as far as Miro and Brian, like, I actually feel similar. Like, I really loved that match. The only thing I didn't like was like the finish, not because of what it was, just because I feel like in execution it didn't look as good as what they had in mind. And that's it. Otherwise, I loved that match. I thought it was the same thing, very hard hitting, very good. Darby MJF, I probably would have put on mine if I saw it live, but I didn't see it till like after the fact because I didn't start watching that pay-per-view. It's like 9:00, so I missed the first two matches. But I do think it will be on. I think it'll be on a lot of people's list because I feel like that was most people's favorite match on the card in Full Gear, like even more so than Omega Hangman. So, I think that match it gets the props it deserves. What was your first match again? Sorry, you said four. So
I know. I'm sorry. Brian and Hangman in the hour match. In the hour-long match.
I had that written down, but since I did Omega, I was like, I'm just gonna only pick one of those two because those are like the the big ones. But like you could say any Brian match. Hell, I loved this match with Anthony Bowens. All of his matches have been fucking killer so far in AEW. So really can't go wrong there. He knocked out Cole Cabana's teeth. Like, oh god, like that's the thing, right? Watching AEW, super easy, barely an inconvenience. Narrowing down all the AEW matches into your favorites, it's difficult, lemon difficult. Like it's not really a doable task. So 3 matches isn't enough. So I understand. I don't blame you for cheating, but I am gonna tell on you. So, but you know what? Let's just be a little negative for a little bit, okay? So I'm not gonna confine it to the wheelhouse of just matches or even just one company at a time, but let's talk about some of the worst moments of 2021 and in wrestling. There's a whole bunch of things you can narrow down. Like one of them is like an anniversary is like a week from today, and have fun with that, people. But I want to throw out first. I'll be negative about AEW first. The Revolution finish to the barbed wire death match. So close. It was a so close moment, and Eddie Kingston's that good that we don't even think about that really anymore, because that was a huge character moment for him that we can never watch and appreciate to the extent that we really should because of how bad that explosion was. I was watching that with my friends, and their sister came in the room and was watching and doesn't really watch wrestling and just couldn't stop making fun of it. And it was one of those ones where we couldn't defend it because that was really, really bad. And it took the air out of the room. And, I have no problem with how they covered it. And, it's the growing pains of a company. We can excuse it all we want, but at the end of the day, it was bad. And that's one thing you can totally criticize AEW for, is sometimes their production has not been up to snuff. And yeah, they are learning a lot, but it doesn't mean we can't point out when these things happen and when they're bad. And I think that was not a great start to the year. You want to try to defend that, James, or you just want to agree that it was bad?
Oh no, it was bad. I mean, across the board, it's like you're promising an exploding ring. Like you're promising it. It's not like it could happen. It's at the end of this, it's going to explode. And you're either going to show a million people at home a ring exploding and chaos and anarchy, or you're going to give them a little bit of a dud. And we definitely lean more towards the dud. And it's a shame because I really enjoyed the match. I enjoyed Kenny versus Moxley. I thought it was vicious in a good way, you know, like I really do think the match isn't going to be remembered the way it should simply because of that finish, but it's kind of on them, you know.
Yeah, I did like the match. I like that it was different, but it's unfortunately I don't think we're ever going to see that again in AEW because of how poorly it went. And like WWE had a pretty nice, believable explosion when Vince McMahon died in that limo explosion. So, it's doable. And also, my family lights off fireworks every 4th of July, and we had way better shit than that. So, like, if we can get that, like they could have done a little better. Like Cody's, just take like Cody's pyro and put it out there. Like what the hell? But do you have anything to offer up for some of the worst wrestling stuff of the year? What do you
Oh
got?
man, you mentioned him, and I'm wearing his shirt. But the Cody Malachi Black feud going on for what felt like 10 years. I don't know who looked good coming out of that feud. It was confusing. People got involved that had no reason to get involved, but somehow became integral, and it turned into something weird and big. And I don't even know who really won it. I think Malachi won, but I don't know. I don't know. Cody is the champion, right? He's the TNT champion right now. What the hell is Malachi Black doing other than spitting in little girls' faces? So that sounds bad, but you know what I mean. And it's like I think Malachi is incredible. I am actually a Cody fan, but that feud I think hurt more than it helped. And yeah. What about you? What do you think
Yeah,
about it?
I didn't I didn't mind it at first. When Malachi won the first two matches, that was good. That was nice. But I mean, I've said it recently, but it's to lose the first two matches of a feud and then win the third one and almost have it like presented as you winning the feud is such a WWE thing, and I don't like it. And only the WWE wrestlers that are in AEW are doing it. And I think it's overall just something I'd like to see them phase out because, I get the logic of, well, they won more of the matches, so, they do look good, but, it's sometimes it is how you leave them. And, at the end of the day, when you, like, why are you still feuding? Like, you already lost. That's it, and as nice as Glock Anderson was, it wasn't worth it,
It was not.
but yeah, I didn't really like that, especially because Malachi is beloved by the crowd and like so over and just you're wasting them. And that's kind of the Cody problem this year is it's almost like a vortex you get sucked into where it's like like you're not going to get more over from feuding with Cody. You're only probably going to be dragged down a little bit. And that's a shame because I love Cody. Like I honestly like he's a huge part of why I started watching AEW. Like him leaving. I remember he made his little list of all the names he wanted to fight. I was super into it. So like I love Cody, but like sometimes you got to know when enough is enough. And I'm hoping that him being TNT champion means that he is self-aware. Finally, we have this recurrent thing, the curious case of Cody Rhodes, and now I think we're finally heading in the right direction. Because I actually don't mind this TNT champion again. I don't really like Sam McVar as TNT champion that much. I was kind of whatever. But you know, enough about Cody. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he'll come back up. I'm gonna throw it over to WWE and zombies. Zombies, right? Um, Everyone knows zombies exist. We've all seen them. We all know one. It's just common knowledge, right? That's fine. Like it's just a part of life. It, you live, you die, you pay your taxes, and you sometimes run into zombies. Ghosts are real, zombies are real, werewolves are not real. Grow up. But there was a zombie lumberjack match between Damian Priest, the current United States champion, and The Miz. And you know what? For Miz, it's totally fine, man. That's of course you would be in that match. For Damian Priest, what the fuck were you doing in there? It was bad. They got eaten and they just were there the next night. Like, it was fine. Like, if you're gonna do something stupid like that, at least fucking die, right? Like, at least move on to the afterlife, become a zombie, bite someone else, continue the chain. Like, I don't understand. Like, how can you be killed off and then show up the next week? Like, like, if you're gonna do something this stupid, at least dig into it. Do you remember this, or did you block it out from your memory? I feel like most people have chosen to pretend that never happens.
I vividly remember it. And the worst part is it's not even the only time we had zombies this year with WWE. They had them in NXT too, like in the crowd, just chilling in the crowd as like audience members.
I can accept that though, because that almost feels like a meta like commentary on like audiences being brain dead, like that. I can make that better in my head where I can't make this better.
John Morrison had a hell of a run since he came back to WWE, but I don't think he'll have a bigger highlight than zombie lumberjack match. And it wasn't even his match, it was Miz's. It was Miz's.
Yes. I mean, like, if John Morrison was in The Walking Dead, he would have lasted a few seasons, kind of be like Jesus from that show. Miz would die so quickly, probably off screen. Like he wouldn't last very long, but yeah. Do you got anything to balance that out with in terms of just other garbage?
I mean, I'm surprised you didn't mention this one, but no, I'm not surprised you didn't mention this one. Becky squashing Bianca in how many seconds?
I think 26.
I love Becky. I love Bianca. I was happy to see Becky back. I'm still waiting on the payoff to that. I don't think the payoff is just heel Becky champion. I don't think that should be the payoff, but that feels like what the payoff is meant to be, at least until Bianca one day gets her title back. But I don't think she's going to be the one to take the title off Becky. So
I really think Liv Morgan's going to do it.
I don't think Liv is going to do it, but
those are the only options. Everyone else is fired.
Oh God, it's so true. It's so true. Yeah, I don't know. I hated it when I watched it. I've sat on it and thought about it, and I still kind of hate it. And it makes me sad that I hate it because I love Becky, and I don't want to hate things that Becky is a part of.
No, I totally get it. This is bad. It was not the right call. I love Becky, and I can defend it to some extent, but not like, again, it's ultimately like it wasn't a good idea, and I'd never do it. So like, and like I said earlier, like honestly, I've accepted that that's just how Bianca lost her title, because WWE sucks to end in title reigns, and in their mind, that was better than her losing like a competitive 10-minute match. Like in their mind, not saying that's right, I'm just saying that's how they think. They're like, oh, like she wasn't prepared for Becky and she got sucker punched. Like that's her being protected. That's their logic. They think someone being caught off guard and getting squashed is better than them wrestling a normal short a decent like match and then lose and clean, whatever. I just don't understand how you can bring back Becky Lynch and just immediately turn her heel and think that that's a good idea. Like, and it's just, you know, like as much as I hate Charlotte, like how you gonna have your top two female wrestlers both be heels? Like it just seems kind of weird, and especially when one of them, Becky became the top face of the division and borderline the company. Be when you tried to turn a heel the first time, so why are you trying to why are you turning her heel again now? Especially when it's working, but like not the crowd still cheer her. She's still like the star that they're like, you're the fucking best. Like, and like Bianca is fine. Bianca is not any worse off. It was just a bad decision. But like she is still over as fuck. She is still on the same level as the horse. Honestly, she is below Becky and Charlotte, but above Sasha and Bailey right now.
I'd agree.
And, like you could debate Sasha because of like the Mandalorian or whatever. Yeah. Like, but I don't care. I don't watch like Star Wars honestly, but they, so Bianca is fine, and that's why I'm also that's why it's like, yeah, I don't blame anyone for putting it on there, but for me it's like, yeah, like it was a squash, but Bianca was okay and turned out fine, and I don't know, maybe we'll talk about this later, but like I don't know, I think she'll be fine in the long and in the short run, but yeah, it's not how I would have brought back my favorite thing in WWE and the only thing keeping me watching Raw at this point. But
wow,
that's maybe I'm crazy for that. But
no, you're just strong. You're stronger than most.
To keep it with the women's division, I'm going to lump up three things because they're all connected by two people. But the Charlotte and Rhea entire feud, the Alexa and Charlotte feud, and Alexa and the Fiend. I'm putting these all together, not because they're all related, but because, so Charlotte's had a weird year. We've talked about it. We've ranted a lot about her on this podcast, but like, her missing WrestleMania was a good thing because what originally would have been her versus Lacey Evans for the women's title, because that's 100% what it was going to be, turned into looking like Asuka versus Charlotte again, which that match at WrestleMania 34, I want to say, was amazing. The wrong person won, but the match was great. Like that was a great match. Honestly, the only women's match that's better at WrestleMania was the triple threat with Becky and Sasha at 32, I want to say. So like that match was amazing, but I don't want to see that again, especially knowing that Charlotte was 100% going to win again. It wasn't like Asuka was going to get her fucking payback. They had no interest in doing that. So then that turned into Rhea and Asuka, and I think the match was fine. You can't say it disappointed because I did have lofty expectations because it was Asuka and Rhea Ripley, but it was also two people who haven't gotten a win at WrestleMania and both needed a win, but one of them had to lose situation. But ultimately, Rhea became a star. Rhea was over and still is very over, but she ran into Charlotte again. And not only did she run into Charlotte, she lost to Charlotte clean again. She couldn't beat Charlotte like again, even though she's now established now on the main roster. And you like some people, because I thought it was a terrible idea to put the NXT title on Charlotte, but people were like, oh, like it'll pay off, and like a year from now Rhea can get her comeuppance and this and look what happened. They had a rematch and Charlotte won, and she didn't win right away because they had a triple threat match where of course Asuka took the pin, and they had a match that ended in a DQ because Rhea was clearing the announce table and the little floppy plastic part on top of the announce table grazed Charlotte's head, and that was called a DQ. And WWE is infamous for their shitty finishes, but that one is honestly one of the worst, like of all time. Like it's up there, it's comparable. And then Charlotte just beat her clean, and then Rhea was nowhere to be found. And then the whole Nikki ASH thing got involved, but I don't want to talk about that because I really feel bad because it was Nikki's idea and I don't want to shit on it, so I won't. But then Charlotte moves on to feud with Alexa Bliss, who is still doing her little Fiend gimmick months after the Fiend has been fired, or Bray Wyatt has been fired. And, you know, that's not good. That's in poor taste as it is. But then they had a really shitty feud where despite whatever you want to say about her character, the very well protected Fiend Alexa Bliss just lost to Charlotte because, for some reason, even though Charlotte's notorious for having short title reigns and it not affecting her character, she beats her, she rips up her Lily doll, and it's awful. It's awful. The build was awful. Everything about it was awful. I'm not doing it justice because I don't want to go into detail because I have forgotten most of it, honestly, luckily. And then, of course, the big part of that that I mentioned earlier is everything with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton. Mainly just the WrestleMania. Honestly, I can excuse all the builds, all the stupid, spooky nonsense. Yeah, there's no fans. Fuck it. Go crazy. Do stupid shit. Have fun. Like, I don't care. I might not like it, but fuck it. Try something new. But that WrestleMania match, Alexa turning on The Fiend for no reason. The Fiend losing to one RKO after like a 5-minute match. That sucked the life out of the crowd. Night 1 of WrestleMania was like really, really good. And then night 2 started with that. And the crowd fucking died. Like, oh God, I hated everything about it. And, The Fiend was this really cool thing in 2019. It came out of nowhere. And it resonated with a lot of fans. And, to the thousands of viewers that we have that know us so well and have picked up on our humors and our quirks and our tendencies, you'll have noticed that I make a lot of references to other YouTube channels and shows and movies, mainly shows, and a lot of meta shows like Community. So The Fiend, being a meta wrestling character, doing things based off of Bray Wyatt's career and his problems and doing these tongue-in-cheek meta references to, problems we've had with this booking and turning that into stories like the Firefly Funhouse match, which was maybe the greatest match of all time, if you consider it a match, but that was right up a lot of our alleys. And then they slowly and inevitably chipped away at it, just like the original Bray Wyatt, and took away some of his credibility and took away a little more of it. And they just made it worse, and they made it worse. And you know what? When he first possessed or whatever Alexa Bliss, I liked it. I was like, this is cool. He's brainwashing people again. Like, that's very interesting to see where this goes. But then it became more about Alexa than The Fiend, it seemed. And, after having the beautiful redemption of his match with John Cena in the Firefly Funhouse match, him doing it to Randy Orton seemed like the perfect logical next step. But it just didn't turn out that way. And we're all depressed about it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I brought this up. And you guys listening and watching right now are probably really upset about it. And there's been enough time where you've healed so much. And now I'm just picking at that wound and I'm like opening it back up again. And for that, I genuinely apologize for opening that wound. And, talk to someone, okay? Text your friends, call a family member. If you have a therapist, check them out, give them a ring, set up an appointment. It's tough out here. It's tough to have ever cared about Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. They don't like that we did that. And they really hurt us and betrayed us. And I don't know. Like, do you have any warm words for anyone out there suffering right now, James? Like Bray
Yes,
Wyatt?
I do. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. If you hated Bray, or if you hated the Fiend's match with Randy at this last WrestleMania, it's okay, because it gets worse. It could be so much worse. It could be their last WrestleMania match where they wrestled on top of an LED screen of cockroaches and bugs and other creepy crawlies, and still not feel satisfied. We live in a time where, we think to ourselves, things can't get worse. Things can't be any worse than this. And that's how we felt at that first WrestleMania where they wrestled. Should have been a triple threat, by the way, with may he rest in peace, Brody Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper. Should have been that triple threat. But you know what? We had so much hope for this second match. And then, you know what? Somehow it did get worse. No Fiend. It meant nothing to Randy. And Bliss gains a weird gimmick, a weird oozing black gimmick that never came back again. So, yes, I stand by what I said. If you got anything out of this match, just remember, just when you think that things can't get worse, they do. They do. And that was the lesson we learned from their first WrestleMania to their second WrestleMania. Things can always get worse. You agree, Danny?
Yeah, I gotta agree.
I have one more. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on the bad, but this one was too big to ignore. Too big to ignore. The finale of Roman Reigns versus the Demon Finn Balor, where we don't know if it was an act of God or an act of the Heyman, Paul Heyman, and the ring just miraculously explode, or not explodes, because we found out this year that wrestling rings can't explode, but the top rope just fell apart after the Demon Finn Balor had what is quite possibly the most cartoony anime superhero comebacks I've ever seen in wrestling, only to fall, trip, and get speared for the 1-2-3. I will never be able to forgive what they did to Finn Balor, and I think that might be my least favorite thing that happened this year.
Oof, that's a good one. Yeah, I've kind of given up on Finn Balor because of that. It's just, that's it. Like, that's how you beat the Demon for the first time. Like, bro, just let Roman beat him. Like, I don't want that, but gosh, just let him fucking beat him instead of that bullshit. Like, that was so bad. And I hated the music so much. I hated his music playing while he made his comeback. I hated everything about it. That was just really, really bad. And not what it's, again, like, you didn't have to put yourself in that situation. If you didn't want to beat the Demon clean, just don't have the match happen. Like, that, you didn't have to do that. You keep Finn Balor away from the title all the time. Like, why not just do that again? I don't understand. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to the because I believe that was the start of this year, the Kevin Owens Roman Reigns last man standing match. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to that terrible botch where Kevin Owens should have won the title, but the referee just stopped counting because they fucked up and Heyman couldn't unlock the handcuffs in time. That was really, really bad. And shit happens, but that really took me out of what was a pretty good match. Like, that ruined it for me. That, sometimes those little things, those are deal breakers, and I'm gonna just rattle off a couple more, because why not be more negative? That's what the internet loves. That's why we're all here. Okay, we wouldn't be on the internet if we didn't have something bad to say. Come on. I am going to say blood and guts ending, and not even it's just because of the way it was shot. I don't care that that was cardboard. Just shoot it from a better angle. That's all. No big deal. And how can we not talk about the egg? You know, it dominated so much of our podcast after Survivor Series, you know, and it really didn't hatch into anything
Oh god.
significant, you know.
It's still dominating our lives and our brains.
Hey, if you really want to connect some dots here, you know, like we're just talking about Finn Balor, and how I wrote him off, and now he's feuding with the guy that stole the egg. So, you know, way to go. He might as well have just feuded with God after the Roman Reigns match. He would have been better off. You know, would have been a lot more interesting. And then there's the big one, big ones, all the fire-ins.
Yeah.
Fuck off with that shit, WWE. Come on. Like it's hard to listen to a really rich company who's made more money than they've ever made before complain about budget cuts. Like,
And
it's okay to
then
fire people, but to act like you need to save money is.
and then have your CEO on TV saying, I love firing people before the holidays. It gives me a warm feeling in my tummy, or whatever he says.
I mean, I will somewhat defend that because that is it within the character of Vince McMahon, but yeah, the timing is very poor.
Yeah,
Like, I don't hold it against him, but like it's just don't do that. Like,
I agree with you. It's totally within the Vince McMahon, like the Mr. McMahon character to say something like that and to do something like that. But it's like you said about other things. You can just not do it. You know, it's not like, oh man, I was really hoping Mr. McMahon would talk about all these firings. Just do your segment the same way and just leave that bit out. And I don't think anybody's gonna think you're a giant piece of shit in real life too.
Yeah. It was just weird. I just wasn't really bothered by that. I was more bothered by Liv and Edge mentioning the fire-ins in their promos to try to make it story, whereas like I didn't feel like Vince was actually talking about the people he fired. But like it is just like, yeah, like just read the room, you know. Maybe don't, you know, it's always an option. Maybe don't. But we've been negative for so long on this podcast, in life in general. Well, maybe me, not James, is like the most positive fucking person. It's borderline nauseating sometimes, but that's why we all love him. That's why we all love him. So we're going to talk about some of the more positive things, some of the most super special, awesome things in wrestling this year, besides all the matches we already spoke about. But I am going to throw one out there right off the bat. And, you know, it's hard. This is the big one. I was going to start with the joke one, but I think we got to start with, like, you know, not only the biggest wrestling story of the year, but borderline of the decade, which is, you know, just started really. But the egg, right? It's on both lists. It's on the negative and the positive. How can we not? No, I'm just kidding. It's obviously Hook. No, Hook's on the list, but it's
Fuck.
It's CM Punk, a guy who is one day gonna lose to Hook. He returned to wrestling, and it was beautiful, and it was something we've been waiting years and years for. And I almost made James choke. He's kind of dying off screen right now. But the Punk return, it was just everything we ever wanted. Like, we thought it was never going to happen. It was too good to be true. And, you know, the return itself was perfect. I would wholeheartedly say perfect. I think maybe it's subjective, but I can't imagine a better return. It was beautiful. Just the crowd was amazing. They sold out a fucking arena for a B show on a rumor. Like, that's insane. That was so special. And like we'll never see anything quite like that again. I honestly don't think. I don't think there'll ever be a star that got to the heights of CM Punk to leave and then come back and have it be that special. Like it just, I don't think it'll ever happen again. Like James, like how did you feel about this return? I know we've talked about it before and
It,
everything, but
it was a beautiful moment for Punk. It was a beautiful moment for the fans who have been chanting his name in arenas all these years since he left. And it was a beautiful moment for AEW. Punk, I think, whether we have him for many more years or just a short while, I know he's got a contract for a couple of years, but it's clear he's having fun. And I think as much as he said otherwise for the longest time, I do think he wanted to feel like he ended his wrestling career on his terms. And even though, I mean, he did walk out the first time, but that was more a defense mechanism. And I want the man to find happiness in wrestling and truly go out the way he wants to. And I think AEW is the perfect place to do that. So I love that moment. It felt like magic. I agree with you. I don't know another wrestler who can create that nowadays. Like there are plenty of guys who have that beautiful connection with the audience, but Punk was a once in a generation type of talent, and I'm glad that the fans were rewarded for their hope. And the reason I said it was a beautiful moment for AEW was I think that was the night they truly earned our trust. Like everybody who's been on the AEW bandwagon, it's, like, oh, they're this cool company and like, oh, they excite me and I hope they do well. But, but who knows with WWE? But I've had so much, I don't want to call it trauma, but I've had so much PTSD from being a WWE fan for the last 20 years that I don't know what to believe. And AEW never said his name. AEW left a bunch of little teases, but they only did it because they knew they were going to deliver on him, and they did. And that's truly, they have had my trust since that night. Now, anytime something is either teased or speculated, I have faith that they're going to deliver. Like we all talk about the fact that Tony Khan likes to overhype sometimes, and he likes to really he comes across as very excited, let's say. And I think that's totally cool. But since Punk, I have not been disappointed once. And I think, at least in terms of debuts or in terms of returns and stuff, they've really been they've honored the faith of their fans.
yeah, I see what you mean. And it's I think a good word to describe everything around it is significant. Um, it's debatably the most significant wrestling return of all time, and it was significant for AEW. You know it put them on the map in a way that no amount of good matches could ever do. Like at the end of the day, because they were putting on good matches and great moments before Punk, and they put on good matches and great moments since Punk. But Punk is special. Punk is significant. He is someone people genuinely care about. He created a whole archetype of wrestling fan, essentially. And, him and other people who we've already talked about in positive lights tonight really paved the way in WWE for a lot of guys who are succeeded now or succeeded in the past 10 years. And there's his significance to wrestling can't be understated. And he's a generational talent. Like he is for a lot of millennials and certain age demographics, that guy in wrestling. Like we were kids with The Rock and Stone Cold, but even then we realized how special they were. But we were like teenagers to young adults with CM Punk, and like that was, almost like a weird early version of nostalgia for us, where like this is like what wrestling made me feel as a kid. And Punk's one of the few people who was able to just capture that lightning in a bottle. So the significance of his return, the fact that he chose AEW, really showed that. And no offense, James, I'm very sorry, but showed that this isn't just like another TNA. And which I know is like a weird thing to say as I'm talking about an ex-WWE guy showing up in a different company, but I really show that they're here to stay and they're here to make a huge impact. That was not on purpose.
Damn.
But
wow.
Yeah, you could see me realize I was about to say it as I was saying this. So it really wasn't on purpose, that one. But yeah, the Punk return is just, it can't be understated how big of a deal that was. And it almost feels like a lifetime ago because he's just blended into AEW so well. And, now we're in the midst of one of his best feuds, which could end up being one of his all-time greatest rivals in MJF. So, that's great. And then if we're talking about Punk, we gotta immediately go into Cole and Bryan's debut at the end of All Out, because it was, the Punk return is a magical moment, but the Cole Bryan debuts might be like the coolest debut. I'd say debut is the singular, even though it's two people, like ever, because that was insane. Like we were all hoping and kind of knew they were both going, especially because Punk made it no secret that Bryan was coming. He just tried to, he's as bad as like keeping the secret as like Tom Holland is, like keep the Spider-Man team going too. But he made it no secret. But I was expecting Bryan to come out when Kenny started cutting that promo. So for Adam Cole to come out really caught, even though I knew he was going to AEW, that the way it was set up, I was like, okay, well, Bryan's coming out. And then Cole comes out, completely subverted my expectations. And then Bryan comes out, where it's like our guard, like we're all expecting Bryan. Cole comes out, we're like, okay, this is great too. I'm not going to complain if we're not getting Bryan because this is Adam Cole. This is fantastic. So our guards are let down in that moment. And then we hear that faint Flight of the Valkyries playing over the speaker. And it's just, I can't think of a cooler debut because that was just, it worked on so many levels. It's one of those ones where it's like, how did they do it even better than I expected? And you were watching, we were watching the same pay-per-view feed. Thank you for that, by the way. How did any fond reminiscing about this now that we've had some time, after it sat for a while?
I don't know if we ever ended up sharing it to social media, but there is a video of me reacting to Bryan's debut. And if I can find it, if I can get a hold of it, I'll make sure we share it to our social media pages. Sorry for the cheap plug, but I was screaming. I was like, again, it's like you said, we knew it was coming. Like we all, like Cole was a definite. We were all expecting Cole. Bryan, it was like, we think so, we think so. And then, like you said, that 1-2 punch of we expected Bryan, we got Cole. What we're getting Bryan too. I don't think I've ever seen anything truly like that. I've seen returns like that, but I've never seen debuts like that. And oh man, the emotions I felt, like I was a little kid again. I was a little kid again, running around, screaming, hollering, and that's what wrestling is supposed to be, man. Like wrestling is supposed to be something that gets you invested, something that gets you emotional. And it's weird to think that about a bunch of sweaty guys and like essentially spandex just rolling around, but I am emotionally invested in the product that AEW has created, and I'm emotionally invested in the guys that they've brought in, and they created a magical moment that, like, not to take away from Punk, because Punk's moment, his return, his debut, whatever you want to call it, was something that we're never going to experience again, like we said. But the Brian Cole debut was, it felt like, okay, wow, this is a main event company now. This isn't a small company that has a couple of big names. We're a company that's going to deliver every time, or as much as we can.
Yeah, we were talked about Grand Slam already, but at the end of that show, when the camera stopped rolling, Eddie Kingston cut a promo for us in the crowd, and I've said it before in the podcast, but I think he put it so well. He's like, we didn't just plant our flag in the dirt; we planted it in the concrete. And I think the 1 month span of Punk's return, debut, and Cole and Bryan's really was that statement, that flag being planted in the concrete, like that. Like that's big. Like that's really, really big. And I don't, it's one of those ones where it's like, I don't know when we'll ever see anything like that again, like to compare to either of those two. So just another fantastic thing. And another highlight of the year was Grand Slam. We already talked about how great that match was, but it's an overall great experience for all of us being there. None of the guys on the podcast wanted to sit with me, though. I was a little upset by that, but that's okay. I got over it. But I also understand I have very off-putting personality. I get it. It's the sarcasm, maybe. I haven't figured out what it is yet. But Winter's Coming was great. We were talking about the, more than half of that show, because more than half of that show was one match. But it's a fantastic show. I said it jokingly, Hook is fantastic, and he's going to be a huge star, and he is the #1 seller right now over CM Punk. That's amazing. And to just a quick note on that is that if you guys maybe, I don't know if you've gathered anything watching this podcast for 4 months or however long it's been, but I'm a little sarcastic, a little bit of an ironic personality. So, the whole Hook thing at first was right up my alley of just like, yeah, we all love this guy. He doesn't do anything. He hasn't said a word. He just stands there. He's sometimes has an oversized hoodie on, sometimes holding a bag of chips, and he offers it to someone. And, we all ironically loved Hook, And now AW was like, all right, put your money where your mouth is. We're going to debut this guy. And now you got to be serious about this. And we were like, okay, I wasn't ready for this, but yeah, okay, like if this is what you need, like you got it. And now we're like, this is so great. We've turned a joke into something beautiful, and I genuinely can't wait to see what Hook does next year. And I think we'll talk about it a little more because I want to get into some like predictions for next year in a bit. But Hook stuff's fantastic, and to contrast it, fuck all the people at WrestleMania this year that were ironically cheering Tamina. Like, come on, like you didn't mean that. And we got a really terrible tag team title reign out of her and Natalya because of it. So thanks a lot. Okay, like we said earlier, Tegan and Shotzi got nothing for your stupid fucking joke. Now back to what I said about how this joke was actually really good and great.
Oh my god, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for any of that. It was so beautiful, this moment where we're talking about what as a fan base we did with Hook.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that, man. That was like the worst part of WrestleMania besides the Fiend stuff.
Jesus Christ!
They needed
this woman who was with that company for a decade getting a thank you title reign for a belt that nobody gives a shit about.
I mean, when you put it that way, I sound like a jerk. That's not what I'm trying to sound like on here.
Guys watching, I was not ready for any of this. We didn't talk about that ahead of time. He got me the way I hope he got all of you. And that might be one of my favorite moments on the pod that we've done since episode 1.
She got the 24/7 title. That was her thank you title. Same way it's Dana Brooks right now.
Oh God.
At least Dana Brooke has improved over the time she's been there.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're
No
absolutely
offense to
not
me, and
wrong.
maybe you have, and I just don't get to see it because you've never had a match longer than 3 minutes that I've seen. But like, you know, I'm not gonna pretend to care. But yeah, Hook's great, right? So good.
Man.
He's got
Uh,
Action Bronson as his theme song. That's
e-
crazy.
Everything about Hook works. And again, I'm with you. I want to get to the predictions, but everything about Hook works even when it shouldn't. He doesn't really have an in-ring style that makes sense yet. He's a mix of a shooter and a submission guy, like I guess like his dad, but like I don't know what he's going for yet. His look, his hair, like for his debut match was like friggin' a real life Goku. That it was like half like this, half like this, and I didn't get it, but the kids seem to dig it. Um, Everything about him is working, and I can't explain it, but I am a hooker. Like we've talked about it before. I'm a hooker. I think everybody's becoming a hooker. And you said something on this episode earlier that is literally like breaking my brain, but I know you're right. In a couple of years, Hook is gonna pin CM Punk. And I'm not ready for it. Like the world, I don't think is ready for that, but it's gonna be beautiful.
Oh, the world's ready. The world is beyond ready for that. Maybe again, they're being ironic, and that's how sometimes that's how you gotta approach life. You gotta joke about it, joke over truth. Sometimes the truth is easier when you just joke about it, and that's what we're doing. And now it's gotten to the point where the joke has steamrolled into something that cannot be stopped. And that is what Hook is. And his matches were fantastic. Watching the crowd react to every single thing he did, that's great. Those are great matches. Those are special. You don't always get that, even with the best wrestlers. So enjoy this while it lasts, and hopefully it keeps going. We did it with this how guys like Orange Cassidy and Danhausen have careers, except Hook's not a comedy wrestler. It's just like the joke isn't designed to make anyone laugh, but it's a joke we're all in on, and
Yep.
it's beautiful. Any other good things? I just want to throw out Eddie Kingston's year has been fantastic. We've talked about it multiple times. We're talking about Eddie Kingston on this episode alone. uh I'm trying to I don't want
I
to be a
got.
dick, but
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, go for it.
No. Mine's. I'm crossing enemy lines here. I love the rise of Biggie and Xavier Woods this year.
Okay, see, I was literally about to say that. I was like, I can't think of anything for WWE, and I feel bad. I don't want to sound like a dick, but like, I agree. It's a weird time to talk about it because I think Big E's title reign might be coming to an end very soon. But
I
you
I
know,
I, I want to get into that, but predictions time, so we'll hold off on that. At least for me, I want to hold off on that.
but yeah, the Big E deserves it. Big E is fantastic. Big E is someone I think we all before the New Day were just like, eh, like yeah, like whatever, you know. But he's had a great run, and he truly deserves this run. And so does Woods. I'm not gonna lie, since he's won it. Besides the stuff with Roman, I haven't been super into it. But again, it's just someone who's getting what they rightfully deserve. And everything he's gotten, the G4 spot, he's gotten, everything for what they've gotten has been well deserved. And you know what? Before the way it ended, Bianca Belair too, like you said earlier, like it's a fantastic year. She won the Rumble, like, and honestly, the best women's Rumble so far, like
I agree.
by far. With the one of the coolest endings, and has just been made into such a star, and to a way lesser extent, Damian Priest. Like they're bucking the trend of NXT call-ups, but yeah, I don't got much. Oh, Arcade Bro, obviously,
Oh yeah,
is
hell yeah.
fantastic. Everything about it, so good. It's just so nice when Randy Orton cares. Like there's such a stark contrast between when he cares and when he doesn't.
It's true.
And when he cares, it's like, oh, this is why he's one of the greatest of all time. And when he doesn't care, it's like, why are you still wrestling, man? But then once he cares, oh my God, it's so good. So, you know,
I agree.
I think we got all the big positives out of the way, and fans coming back, we'll throw that in, that's been so much better. It's nice to have fans to, for at least a month, made it feel like WWE was better for at least that first month coming back. And for AEW, it's nice to have like a larger crowd to react to Max Caster's amazing raps. And because I had to get Max Caster in this episode somehow. I'm trying
Rightfully
to do it almost
so.
every week, he's the best rapper in all of wrestling by far. But so 2022 is like super close. By the time you guys are watching this, it's probably hours away. Or maybe it's been going on for a couple hours. I don't know. We'll see. But there's a lot that can happen in wrestling in the year 2022. There's a lot of good that could happen. There's, of course, a lot of bad that can happen. There's a lot of bad that could happen in the real world. Let's see how it goes. But James, give me one off the bat. Give me a prediction for 2022.
Do you want a WWE prediction or do you want an AEW prediction?
Give me an AEW prediction first.
Okay. One of the 4 pillars will be coronated this year.
Ooh, that was on mine too. I agree. I mean, I think it's specifically MJF or Jungle Boy. But I do think MJF is the next champion. And I want Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy to hold the tag titles. Like, I want that to happen. You can't keep having them be the team that contends and doesn't win. You got to give it to them eventually. So I really like that prediction. So I agree with that.
What about you? What's one of your predictions for the year? We'll go with AEW. Yeah, we'll stick with AEW for now.
This is weird, but I think that the TBS title is going to change hands 4 times. Let's say I think it's going to be the title that changes the most in AEW in 2022. Because I could see it depending on who wins it. If Jade wins, I don't feel as confident in this prediction, and I expect Jade to win, so I don't know why I'm making it, but like I can see Ruby winning it and not holding it for too long, because I think you got to have a lot of people win some titles in that division. I think Ruby needs a title. I think Jade needs a title. I think Chris Statlander really needs the title. She's slowly become like my favorite in that division besides Britt, and I'd like to see her get something for being, really fucking good. I think, and maybe even like Tay Conti, like they clearly love her a lot, and I don't mean that in like a undeserving way. I just mean it in like they see a lot in her, and it's obvious how much they see in her. So I could see that happening. So I just think that's gonna be the title that changes hands the most in AEW in 2022.
All right, I like that. I never thought about that, but I think I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because part of me could see Britt honestly like not losing the title anytime soon and holding it almost the whole year. So
yeah, I could see that.
You got any other AEW ones?
Oh, I got a couple more if you're ready to hear them.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's only a matter of time before Bryan Danielson and CM Punk either unite, collide, or both. And I think we're going to get a true best in the beard reunion. And I am so friggin' here for it.
Yeah, I want that so badly. And like, I see here and there on the internet and maybe on other wrestling podcasts, which I just found out existed. I really thought we were the only one this whole time. I've been saying it and like no one's corrected me.
I didn't have the heart. I didn't have the heart to.
Here I am lying to the people, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to lie to you guys.
I'm so sorry.
But I want that so bad. I've seen people say like, oh, like keep them apart. Like, no, like don't have them interact, like keep it all, push off. I'm like, no, fuck it. I want it.
Yep.
One of my problems with Brian turning heel is like, I want him and Punk to team up and face the Young Bucks and face everyone and do so much. I want them to interact so badly because in WWE, like that's honestly one of the things I thought they handled really well was balancing the dynamic of Punk and Brian for the short time they were there together and on top together.
Yep.
Like when Brian was World Heavyweight Champion and Punk was WWE Champion, they had a series of 3 matches that were fantastic. They were so good. And even though Brian was a heel and Punk was a face, they shook hands like in Ring of Honor. They gave each other that nod, and they were just happy to be having that match on the big stage of WWE.
So good.
Then they had 3 great pay-per-view matches. Some of my favorite WWE matches of all time, honestly. And they even had a great triple threat with Kane, like one of Kane's career best matches. And then they kept apart for a while, and then they teamed up. They came together, they teamed up when Brian was at his peak popularity and Punk was still basically at his peak popularity. They teamed up, and it was so short, but so memorable. And just one of those kind of things that the audience knew was special when it was happening. And it became even more special in hindsight because of how quickly after that Punk left. And, you know, everything that happened with Daniel Bryan immediately after that. So how can you not do that in AEW? Like, yeah, the company needs to show some self-control with how they treat WWE guys. And, you know, maybe you can condemn them for 2 out of the first 2 champions being former WWE guys. Like and then most of the TNT champions being former WWE guys. Like, then that's a valid criticism. But it's CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. Like, one, they weren't WWE guys first and foremost. Yep. They became popular and beloved because they became top WWE guys despite not being WWE guys. So, you know, it's really weird to be like, how can you put the title on the 2 most famous indie wrestlers of all time who transcended indie wrestling and made it to the top of mainstream wrestling? Like, it's a weird, why draw the line there? That's kind of weird. But so yeah, I'm with you there. I can't wait for that to happen. It better happen in 2022. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. Punk's only got so many years left. Brian too.
I know.
Well, Brian seems like he could wrestle for 20 more years at the rate he's going. But
seriously. I know he said, like, I won't go too long, but I know he said that this contract is probably like his last full-time contract. I don't believe him. I think he's got one more short long-term contract after if he stays healthy. I
mean, he said that before he was having all these matches, you know. Yeah. Like, now that he's had them, you could tell he's like you said before, he's operating on another level, firing on all cylinders. He is the final boss of AEW. So
I love it.
You know, I don't really have many other AEW predictions, honestly. So do you want to rattle off the other ones?
Yeah. All right, I'll be quick. I only got 2 more. I know this is going to be a controversial one. I think it's only a matter of time before Jeff Hardy makes his way to AEW and we get a little bit of a Hardy party. I know. I mean, again, first and foremost, we maintain it here on the pod. Jeff's health is the most important thing. And, you know, whatever he was going through, we hope he's getting through it and he gets the help he needs. If he needs help, we still don't know. But I do think we're probably going to get a Hardy Boy reunion sooner than later. And I know you're not the biggest fan of that, but I think it's I think it's almost a guarantee at this point.
Yeah, it feels inevitable. And I don't want to be too sour on it because everyone loves Jeff Hardy and I used to too. But you know, it's just, yeah, his health comes first and foremost, but like, I think he's a liability to wrestling. I don't think he should be wrestling anymore. And like, I just, you know, I don't want to belittle or diminish everything he's going through or has gone through, but, you know, I also don't want to sound insensitive,
Of
because
course.
I know people who've gone through this kind of thing, but we can't act like we can't treat him like we're treating Moxley.
Yeah.
This is his first time going into rehab and his first time really confronting these sort of demons. Like, I don't want to give up on anyone, but like, I'm just tempering my expectations with Jeff Hardy.
As the
want to
Jeff
see that
Hardy
Young
mark.
Bucks match.
Oh, me too. I want to see the Hardy. I as much as I want to see the Bucks match, I've seen it. I want to see the Hardys versus the Lucha Bros. I think that's going to be the exciting match for me.
I don't want to see that. That sounds like Jeff Hardy is going to die in the ring.
I also want Jeff versus Darby. Again, it sounds like Jeff is going to die in the ring.
I don't want that.
It feels like it's Taylor. Like the only person who was more perfect for the only person who was more perfect for Darby than Sting was Jeff, I think.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's just the Jeff Hardy ship is sailed for me. Like that's all I can say is I'm a bummer about this topic. Like that's all.
Nah, you're good.
What's the other prediction?
I will die on the hill that I still want, and I'm going to get this year either a trios title or a women's tag title. There you go. That's it.
I mean, we're definitely getting a trios title before women's tag title. That for sure. Now that we're getting the TBS title, like there's no way we get women's tag title in the same year.
Yeah.
Which I wish we did because I really want the inspiration, but I'll take those trios titles because it's funny. Like it's not Dynamite wasn't really important enough for us to talk about this week, but one of my complaints with the show is like there's way too many tag matches on the show and they're all kind of pointless. Obviously the Undisputed Era or whatever they're going by now versus the Best Friends is important and awesome. But why would you also have the Eddie Kingston and Proud and Powerful versus 2.0 trios match on the same show? It seems kind of like silly to me. And then you have the 10-man tag that of like nothing feuds, kind of in there. That's kind of like, why? Like, why are we doing this? But I really hope we do get those trios titles. Because it's just, if there was ever titles tailor-made for this company, it's trios titles. So
absolutely,
we'll see, because I feel like we were supposed to get them on the cruise last year, but then COVID happened and all that stuff. So we'll see. Hopefully we do get them. To switch over to the other company,
dun dun dun.
I have some predictions. And two of them could technically involve AEW, but like it's wishful thinking. I'm gonna start mine off with a bummer of one. I think Shinsuke Nakamura is going to get released or ask for his release.
Wow.
I don't know why. I just feel it. And he's Intercontinental Champion right now. And that actually adds on to why I feel that way. Because it seems very WWE right now to be like, okay, cool, take the title off you, and well, you're pointless now, so you might as well go, Braun Strowman, who's the guy from NXT that was North American champion that got released shortly after.
Oh, God, his name is Jonah now, but wow, that's sad, and I feel bad.
Clearly,
I feel bad.
He was North American champion too. I remember that was still maybe one of the greatest ladder matches of all time to crown that inaugural
it really was
champion.
But, it really was.
Oh, I showed that match to one of my non-wrestling friends and he fucking loved it. He was like, man, this Adam Cole is such a slimy douchebag. And I was like, yeah, he's really good at that. Like kind of thing. But
Bronson Reed, by the way.
I don't believe you, but okay, sure. See, like he was North American champion, lost it, and then is fired. So Toni Storm just challenged for a title, and now she is gone less than a week later from challenging from that title.
True.
So for some reason, I just feel like Shinsuke is not long for this universe. I just don't know. Yeah, right. You like that?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you could see that happening, but would it shock you if that happened?
Yeah, no, I the number one thing I had on my list is there's going to be more releases. So yes,
Oh yeah, I figured I would just get specific about releases
yeah,
instead, which is a
yeah,
fucked up thing to do, but this is the situation they put us in. Like,
created. Yeah, they really have.
They might as well gamble on who's gonna get released.
I'm going to throw one back at you that I guess is going to be more positive, maybe.
Okay.
I think we're going to see our first major, um, not crossover, but jumping
Defection?
ship. Yeah, defection from AEW to WWE.
How's
I don't
that
know who.
positive?
I mean, at least somebody's not getting fired, you know,
Yeah, but they're
working for WWE. I know it
yeah.
ain't great, but it's still, it's a job. And I see it happening. I don't know who, I couldn't tell you who, but I just got this weird feeling we're gonna see our first defection the other way.
I could see it, but I kind of don't think so because you said major like defection at first,
Yeah,
and anyone who would be a major defection is clearly in a good spot in AEW, and all of those people kind of have a like ride or die mentality with
I guess that's
AEW right
true.
now. Like they're all kind of they're drinking the Kool-Aid for lack of a better term, and it really is for lack of a better term because everyone seems to be really loving AEW and have a lot of team spirit, I guess is a better
Yeah,
term. But I kind of don't see anyone noteworthy enough jumping over because, like, obviously there's reports that WWE had interest in Britt Baker and MJF, but
yeah.
MJF's making it part of his character, the Forbidden War of 2024, but how can you possibly go think you're get better off in WWE?
WWE.
And
Nope.
maybe Britt would have a chance because she can easily slot to be on Becky and Charlotte's level.
Yeah.
But they might be like, "Oh, you're from the other company, and we're gonna have you be beneath all the horsewomen instead of on their level." And I don't know, but it is a wild prediction, and that's what we're all about here. So I have. How many more do you have? I have like two more.
I've got two more also.
Okay, so I'm gonna rattle off one more. I'll rattle off one, and then finish up.
All right, this is my wildest one.
Okay.
I think Big E retains at day one, and I think Roman drops at day one.
Ooh.
And here is why, and this is the only reason why. Unfortunately, with the world getting crazy again due to COVID, I don't know if Roman is going to want to travel the way he has been. And again, like, I know he's got top of the line when it comes to traveling. He's not hopping on a regular flight with the rest of us plebs, but I think just like he took time off when COVID got bad the first time, I wouldn't be shocked. And I don't wish this. I want him to be safe and I don't want him to go anywhere, but I wouldn't be shocked if he takes some time off while things are getting crazy.
I could see that. I think it depends on whether they go back to the Thunderdome or not, but I could see that. I mean, I guess one to compliment the build to day one, I can genuinely see any one of the four guys winning the WWE title in that match.
Yeah.
I wish Bobby Lashley wasn't in it. He's kind of ruined what was a really good story by just being involved, which is sad to say because early at the beginning of this year, Bobby, retroactively throw Bobby Lashley into the positives of this year. Like him winning the title was pretty cool. And like at the beginning of his title reign was pretty cool. But him being in this match just kind of made it worse. But I can still see him winning it. So that's kind of out there, and I wouldn't be too mad. I'm be honest, I don't care about the Lesnar Reigns stuff at all right now. It's kind of
I get it.
whatever
I do get
it. It would be interesting, just because of how much the Reigns title reign has been built up and how long it's gone on for. So My less crazy of the two and more just like a kind of niche random. I think, and this ties into day one in a way. This ties into like maybe things lining up. I think we get a back-to-back Rumble winner. So either Edge or Bianca Belair
Jesus Christ.
win the Rumble because, you know, we said it earlier, but I could see Bianca challenging Becky again because
Yeah.
I think, you know, they're just trying to kill some time between when the feud took a break till the Rumble time. You know, it makes sense. That's why Bianca faced Doudrop like 4 weeks in a row, or whatever the fuck it was. You know, and Becky's doing the whole Liv thing, and it's working. It's gonna Liv over. I don't think Liv
Yeah.
is gonna be that person to beat her, but it's really making people like Liv, and it has worked. It has gotten Liv over, but I think that's the extent of it. I think Becky wins and moves on. So I could see Bianca winning, and then they have the match at Mania, and then Bianca wins the title there, and they actually have a little bit of long-term booking, just a little bit. Or, and this entirely falls apart after day one if Seth doesn't win the title, but if Seth wins the title at day one, I think Edge definitely wins the Rumble, and they do that match again. Because
No.
yeah, because it's WWE. They love doing these rematches, and you know what? As grateful as I am for Edge being back, I've already said it, and I sound ungrateful, but he's really running his feuds into the ground.
Yep.
He's facing people too much. He has faced everyone one too many times. Sometimes two in the case of Randy Orton. Three too many times in the case of Randy Orton, actually. All three of them should have happened. But I could see it happening. I don't know why. And maybe it's because it's early doors and I can't think of who else could win the Rumble. Yeah, I'm convincing myself of my own prediction. You know, like I could see someone, either one of those two, winning the Rumble again to set up a Mania match with someone they've already feuded with.
Woof. Woof. That's all I can say to that one.
Who can win the Royal Rumble for the women? Sasha? I don't want that. I mean, I want her to win a Rumble, but like, you know.
I don't want her to go against either champ right now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want her to go against Becky again, and I don't want her to go against Charlotte again.
Well, and you know, I almost put the Becky Sasha match from the SmackDown that ran long on my list of favorite matches because it was really, really good. But yeah, I'd rather that than Sasha Charlotte, honestly. But yeah, that's my wild out there. What's your last prediction?
This is more of just a general one. I think we're going to see a lot more NXT call-ups happen a lot more frequently.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think with the way NXT is being used now, I think we're just going to see them sort of seamlessly transition them into the main roster a lot faster than we did for a long time, where there was sort of a drought between NXT call-ups.
I can see that. I mean, if they bring up Toxic Attraction, does Mandy Rose count as an NXT call-up?
I think she's on the same level as Finn.
Okay, that's what is set, guys. Mark that down. James just said that Mandy Rose is on the same level as Finn Balor, and he meant it. That's a genuine quote from James.
I'm not even that sorry. I feel bad for Finn, but good for Mandy.
I mean, Mandy Rose is being booked stronger than Finn Balor is, honestly.
Absolutely.
And also, I don't really watch NXT, but you know, Gigi Dolan is pretty cool, so it's nice to see her doing something, you know. So I could see that, yeah. And you know what? In a way, that's not bad because that's what NXT is for. And maybe the faster they call people up, the less likely they are to fuck with the gimmick because it's already in progress. So maybe there's something to that. So I'm okay with that. So my final prediction, I actually spoiled it on last week's episode, but and this one's more crazy and out there, but I think Paige returns to wrestling. I really want it. Love Paige. I said it last week. My top 3 all time for women's wrestling is Becky, Beth Phoenix, Paige. Like that's Those are my big three. And, I think we're getting a Beth return soon. And even though it's not the way I want, it's nice for her to wrestle again. I wish she would face Becky or
Yeah.
anyone, or Bianca Belair, someone who's using her finisher as a fucking setup move. I hate that shit. I hate when wrestlers do that so much. Oh my god! Speaking of, how bad is Charlotte's fucking double moonsault she's doing for Andrade? Oh my god,
She's missed it.
she's
like
so good
every
at
time.
so many things, and like that's like the one thing she's not good at. It's weird, but yeah, I want Paige back. I know it's a long shot because of medical reasons, but she did say 2022 was going to be a good year. And when you're a wrestler and you say things like that, you're going to give people hope and
Yep.
cause speculation. So I'm going based off that. I'd love for her to come back and feud with Becky, with Bayley, with Bianca, with Alexa Bliss, with anyone but Charlotte, really, honestly. But and hell, I'd even love for her to go to AEW and feud with Britt Baker and Chris Statlander and Thunder Rosa and Ruby Soho, because there's so much. I want. Paige was awesome, and her career got cut way too short, and I feel like she was about to hit another level and be a huge part of everything that was going on. And like, I don't know, I just think there's a lot of missed opportunities, and like, AJ Lee's never gonna wrestle again, seemingly. So to have Paige, it would be really nice. And that's my wild prediction for 2022.
I mean, I hope so. I would love to see another Paige turn in her career. That was bad.
Great.
Yeah, that
was great. That was great. If you know it's bad, you just got to smile cheekily about it. You got to own it, and then people enjoy it.
See, one last lesson learned in 2021.
Yeah, there we go. And also, Paige throws one of my favorite super kicks. I think she's actually really, really good at throwing super kicks out there. But yeah, we'll see. Do you guys have any crazy predictions for 2022? Do you have any boring predictions for 2022? Do you think the status quo will continue? Do you think our country will end or possibly go into a world war, like a civil war? I mean, sorry. Do you think that Jeff Hardy will show up in AEW, or do you think he will end up in rehab, or both, or something better? Who knows? Do you think that anyone will win the Royal Rumble? Do you think we'll have a no contest in the Royal Rumble? Because we've had it in Hell in a Cell matches now, so who's to say? You just never really know. What did you think of 2021? What was your favorite match? What were your favorite moments? What were your least favorite moments? We'll take all the negativity. We'll take the positivity. If you comment something positive, I'll comment something negative and retort. If you comment something negative, I'll also comment something negative and retort. So there's just a win-win situation. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending any portion of your New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, day after New Year's Day with us. We appreciate it so much. On behalf of everyone at the Market Down Podcast, we wish you a very, very happy New Year. Don't make resolutions. That's not a real thing. Like, grow up. Come on. Like, what the fuck? Subscribe, please. Follow us on social media. Follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, 4chan, Squarespace, Pinterest, all that stuff. We're almost definitely there. I've never lied to you before. Why start now? And these are tangible things. These are things you can actually do, unlike resolutions, which are, setting yourself up for failure. Just change progressively throughout the year. Don't make a list that you have to abide by and then give up right away. Change takes time, guys. It's not a quick fix. Okay. And don't post inspirational quotes on Instagram. It's really dumb. Have a good night. Happy New Year's. Thanks for watching. Go mark yourself.